Okay, I think we're going to begin. Good evening, everybody. My name is Bobby Silverman. I direct the Ceramics Center here at 92NY in New York City. And welcome to this evening's presentation by Jennifer Rochlin. Before we begin, I just wanted to mention a few things. There's many of you who are participating in the program for the first time. Virtual Clay has evolved into a program we try to engage with artists, designers, curators, historians who do not necessarily come from a ceramic background, but have a professional interest. And Jennifer, having started out as a painter and now working in ceramics, is a perfect example. We have found this perspective adds another dimension, another dynamic about the conversation about clay and all things ceramic. So it's wonderful that you can join us. This is our 11th year. Our success has been in large part due to our partnership with the National Council on Education for the Ceramic Arts, NCECA. So as always, I want to thank the Executive Director, Josh Green, and the NCECA board for all their support. Coming up on February 13th, a little less than a month from now, Lee Hong Chung is going to be presenting from Seoul, South Korea, his sculptures, as well as ceramic furniture. I hope you can join us for that. And if you're interested in past lectures, you can go to the on-demand section of Virtual Clay, and you can see them there at no charge. Just please keep your microphones. I think you're going to all be on mute. If there's connectivity issues or connections, it's usually due to Wi-Fi. On your end, there might be a compromised issue, but for the most part, we've had pretty good success with this platform, and most people don't seem to have problems. This is being recorded, and so we will have the recording available once it's edited for those of you who had trouble or would like to see this again. In introducing Jennifer, her biography: she was born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1968 and lives in Los Angeles, California. She received a Master of Fine Art from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago in 1999, participated in an exchange at the Universität der Kunst in Berlin, Germany in 1998, and received a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Colorado, Boulder in 1991. Jennifer's work has been featured in group exhibitions such as the Home Show Revisited, Santa Barbara Contemporary Arts Forum in Santa Barbara, California, the MKE-LAX Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 2012, the Venice Beach Biennale in conjunction with Made in LA 2012, the Hammer Museum in Los Angeles and Venice, California, Sculptures 356 Mission in Los Angeles, California, 2013, the Machine Project Guide to the Gamble House, Pasadena, California, 2014, Sexpot, University of San Diego, California, 2016, the Brightsiders, Verge Center for the Arts, Sacramento in 2017, Clay Pop at Deitch Projects, New York in 2022, Rigid Berlin, the Heaviest, Vito Schnabel, New York in 2023, Terra Recognita, A Ceramic Story, Miriam Ibrahim, Chicago 2023, and Clay Pop Beach Projects Los Angeles in 2023. Jennifer is a recipient of the Individual Artist Grant from the Bell Foundation in 2015 and the Durfee Foundation ARC grant in 2007. She's had solo exhibitions at Sorry We're Closed, Brussels, Belgium in 2022, Shrine Gallery, New York in 2022, the Pit, Los Angeles, the Pit in Los Angeles, California in 2020, and the Maki Gallery, Tokyo, Japan in 2020. Her work is in the collections of the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, San Francisco, the Mint Museum in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she's represented by the in Los Angeles. And before I give the floor to Jennifer, you need to know what a tremendous Herculean effort has been for her to do this lecture. 2 weeks ago, she was evacuated from her home due to the fires in LA. They came, as we just found out, literally across the street. Trees were burned. And so thankfully, her house was spared, but is in no condition for her or her family to currently live in, although she did get back into the studio for a bit today. Currently, she's staying with friends, and she's doing this lecture at another friend's house because it's close to a school where she can pick up her sons after they're done with school. So normally we let the question and answer session go as long as there are questions to be answered. But this evening, due to her commitment to getting her kids, given her situation, we hope you understand that soon after 8 o'clock, we're going to have to stop the presentation. So Jennifer, it's a pleasure to have you. It would be a pleasure to have you under any circumstance, but really, again, thank you so much for being able to do this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So for this lecture, I decided to focus on my two most recent shows and on some of my collaborative work that I've done. So I always like to sort of tell my origin story with ceramics. I was teaching at a high school in 2002 in LA, private Catholic girl high school, and I was replacing a teacher that had been there for 35 years. And within the first week, they told me they got a grant for $10,000 to start a ceramic program, and could I do that? I had never touched clay before, and I said, sure, absolutely, no problem. And so I dove headfirst into learning how to throw and fire, and the first year was a complete and utter disaster. But it was a great way to learn, and I'm still in touch with a lot of my students from that time, and many of them have gone on to study ceramics. So I feel like I didn't completely discourage them from the medium. So I didn't start using it primarily into my own work until about 2008. But had I not had that teaching job and had to do that crash course in ceramics, it never would have crossed my path. So I feel really grateful that I had that opportunity, and I was ready and willing to kind of take on that challenge. The first slide is I just had a show that just closed this weekend in Paris at Marianne Ibrahim Gallery. And it was an absolutely beautiful space. And it was 2 floors, and I really made the work kind of specific to the gallery and wanting to think about how it would interact with it being a 2-floor space. So upstairs, this is upstairs. Here's just another view of it. Here, so it's I picked these. This is the first time that I kind of made 3 works that are all interrelated with the pink in them, and with this kind of set in this tapestry border, and I'll explain that to you in a second, because I really was thinking about how they related to this brown wall that was there in the space. So I felt like the pink worked really well with that wall. I also designed a wallpaper, which initially I thought was going to go upstairs, but then there was this big wall right when you walked in, and it ended up looking really good there. And this wallpaper was made out of color aid collage, kind of a la Matisse, his cutouts, and it kind of took different motifs that I have in my work and made a recurrent pattern. And so that was really fun, and I liked that challenge of doing that and felt like it was successful. This piece is called French Kiss, and since I was doing a show, my show in Paris was called Sons and Lovers, based off the D.H. Lawrence book, but it was, instead of spelled S-O-N, it's spelled S-U-N, so it doesn't refer directly to the book, but alludes to it. And so I kind of had started to have this tradition of if I have a show in a different location, kind of picking up and doing an artwork that I love from that location and putting that on a work. So this piece is called French Kiss. And this is Toulouse-Lautrec painting of, I think it's called something like In My Bed, The Kiss or something. And then this is a detail of it. And these are all terracotta pieces with white underglaze. Then I'd use a sgraffito technique where I scratch into it and do the drawing. And then I use Amico underglazes to paint. And since I am trained as a painter, I get very painterly with it, and kind of water down the underglazes, and then go back in and put clear glaze on different parts of it that I want to highlight. This is the other side of it. This is Picasso's The Kiss. So I basically kind of researched different paintings from Parisian artists that had kisses in them. And this was exciting because I got to see this painting in person at the Picasso Museum. And then this side has Rodin's The Kiss, which I think's the sexiest artwork I've ever seen. I love that artwork. And I've used that before on my pieces. And the you'll notice that I kind of have a lot of these works have borders on them, and I refer to them as tapestries. When I was in my 20s, I studied Russian and I lived in Russia, and then when I came back, I was painting, and then my host family had rugs on the walls, and I was looking at photographs and painting from those. And I became more interested in painting the rugs than the people, which is initially what I was painting. And so I have carried that on for like 25 years using kind of the motif of a tapestry as a vehicle for inserting narrative vignettes. So it harkens to that decorative tradition of storytelling through so many cultures. But then also I like to kind of interrupt the pattern. I have a very imperfect hand. And so then trying to copy a pattern, like it just constantly kind of distorts and I like, there's something that really is like satisfying for me to kind of have a pattern to start with when I'm starting a work. I might not know exactly what I'm doing when I'm starting on something, but if I know that I'm going to do a border and I'm going to start with this pattern, and that's going to be a way to allow me into the piece. So this is one side called Boys Enveloped in Pink Tapestry, and that's my son. And then just recently I started painting back on canvas of the pots. So I'm painting on the pots, and then I'm making paintings of the pots. And I'm putting these in my garden and kind of painting sometimes plein air on that. So I'm enjoying that kind of push and pull that's happening with that. If there's an image that I want to sit with for a little longer, then I will kind of paint it. Here's the other side of that piece. And often I'll take flowers that are in my garden or that are on my nature walks and put them on the pieces. This is downstairs of the show, and for this I really was kind of thinking of the smaller pieces of being parts that were I live in Altadena, and there's all these trails right outside my door, and so I'm there every day. It's where I go to think. It's where ideas come from. It's where I go to de-stress anxiety. And so I think of the little pots here as like kind of the mental, kind of where I go when I need to have mental clarity. And the medium-sized pots are life moments that kind of stop me in my tracks. So it's sort of like this push and pull between being in my head and out of my head. That's kind of how I think about it. And there's just show you a few more install shots of that. This one is called On the Trail Early Summer. And you know, if this is the deer I saw, and I see bears, I've seen a mountain lion, its tail, just its tail. And these are hard works to kind of look at right now because a lot of these trails are gone. But I also really, for the show, really kind of documented how the shrubs change as the season, because, you know, it gets very dry in LA, and kind of seeing the same plants throughout the year and how they just kind of change color-wise as the seasons change. Really just kind of talking about the passage of time through the changing seasons. This pot is called Jenny and the Twins. I think I'm in a band with my kids. I don't know if they know that I'm in a band with them. They play music, and I'm always trying to play with them, and sometimes they let me play. Sometimes they don't. Depends. They're 15, so they can be nice sometimes and not nice sometimes. And you'll notice the kind of black border on, sometimes I use these black borders where I carve out and you can see the terracotta, and that's definitely alluding to the Greek vessels, and trying to continue with that tradition of storytelling. And it's also super satisfying to just carve out and use that sgraffito technique. So I like to get in there and really get a good chunk of it when I can. On the other side is Joni Mitchell at the Hollywood Bowl. So it's as if I'm hoping that one day Jenny and the twins are gonna get to play. Maybe we're gonna open for Joni Mitchell. I don't, probably not, but you can dream. So that's kind of what else on that side. This is after the kiss. This is after the Toulouse-Lautrec painting. So taking the same embrace, the same colors, but having something from my life that I'm putting in. And then this is a sycamore that I planted in my yard when I first moved in, and as it's changing through the seasons. So that's the Paris show. And then, oh no, this one is called Peacock Fire Late Summer Anxiety. And pretty much every September and October, I have anxiety about fires because the winds pick up, and there's often fires. And this was a time when there was a fire out in Riverside, and I sort of, and when I'm feeling this anxiety, doing this peacocks. I've done a peacock kind of for every show, and it's really because it's like, first of all, I started with the peacock because I draw and paint things from my life, and peacocks are in Altadena, and which is always a strange sight when you see them on the street. But it like really like doing that pattern over and over again of the feathers is really cathartic for me. So if I'm start feeling anxiety and I'm in the studio, I'll just and I feel I just will start doing a peacock, and it like will instantly calm me down. So this feels a bit of a foreshadowing piece. So I made this probably I think in October of this year. So and now, so that was the end of the Paris show. Now this is, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my collaborative work. I have people bite on my pots, and then I paint them to look bruised. It came from me trying to depict someone's back with bites on it in 2018, and wondering how I was going to draw the bites. And I was like, oh, what if I just bit the clay? And I love the sensation of biting the clay. It just felt so good to like get a big chunk in there. And so then whenever I would have people over for studio visits, I would be like, oh, well, would you like to bite the clay? And 99% of people have bit the clay. And then this was a piece that I did at Cal State Long Beach. They invite artists down to come work, and have been down there a few times. And so this became this incredible marker of my time there and of all the artists that have come through there. I'm sure a lot of you know who Tony Marsh is, who used to run the program. He was so bold to actually take a bite out of the neck, completely take a bite out of it, and then put it back, kind of slip and score it and put it back on another part of the pot. So you really have a loss of control when you're letting people kind of go at your work like that. And so that was kind of, and then also what I like about it is everyone's marks are different. Like I have very little bite marks, and some other people have incredible marks that bites that let it look like butterflies. And so then it becomes almost a spontaneous mark that's now on my work that I have to incorporate into my narrative scene. Or sometimes I do works that you just saw that was just the bites, where it's all just bites and it becomes abstract. But sometimes they become butterflies, or I try to incorporate them into. This is also just kind of a process shot. Someone on Instagram asked me if I was going to be talking about technical at all. And so I just wanted to show a little bit of the work while it was in progress, how like building up the forms. I use a low fire uh, terracotta clay from Laguna. This is all white slip because they had big vats of it, which was nice at Cal State Long Beach, and then used doing the sgraffito and then going with the underglazing and working on multiple pieces at a time. And I hand build them using rolling out slabs. So it's just one in progress. This was during, they let you kind of come in during breaks when school's not in session. So this was during a winter break. Here's another collaborative piece. I got asked to be in this show about Bridget Berlin at Vita Schnabel Gallery in 2023, curated by Alison Gingeros. And I didn't know much about Bridget Berlin, so I did some research on her. And she had this thing called a cockbook where she would go around to bars and have like Warhol and Basquiat draw penises in it. And I was like, oh, well, what if I made a cock pot and had different artists draw on it? And I liked how it was, what did I like about it? Oh, I liked how it was a play on crockpot, and it just, anyway, it ends up everyone loves to draw penises. So I had lots of willing participants, and I took my pot while it was leather hard in the trunk of my car, and took it to different people's studios and had them draw. And so it was really fun. And it was great to see how many people were willing and wanted to draw on it. This was the artist Danny Gibson. He's a friend that I mountain bike with, a painter. This is Mark Rochon. I took it to his studio. He was very serious about it. Then there was a party. This didn't go so well because my friend didn't realize that it wasn't fired, and we did kind of lose a little bit of the rim, but we were able to fix it back. But this is Louise Bonet, Kelly Akashi, Jennifer Guidi. And again, everyone was just really delighted to, this is where some of the names are on it. Delighted to draw penises on a pot. So it was a fun collaborative effort. So then I had a show. My bio wasn't updated, so sorry on that, Bobby. I should have given you more of an updated bio. I had a show last May in Chelsea at Hauser and Wirth. Maybe some of you saw it. And that was a really super exciting show to have. And so I wanted to do another collaborative piece. So this is me, very excited that my friends have agreed to draw on my new pot, which was a pussy pot. I was like, well, if we did a cock pot, then we need to do a pussy pot. And so this one, this was just all my women artist friends to draw on that. This is the artist Caitlin Lonigan. This is Mimi Lauder, who's taking a bite as well as drawing on it. Hillary Petchis, this is in my yard. She came, so I had some people come to my studios, took it around. This is Kim Fisher at my friend's opening. I pulled up on the side of the road and put on my taillights and was dragging people out of the opening. Kim bore a hole in it. So you really have to kind of relinquish power or control when you're having other people draw on it. And then it seemed kind of too blank, so I kind of painted some poppies around. So, and really it runs the gamut of kind of very realistic to more fun. And a lot of people had to do it very quickly without any kind of looking into what they were drawing. So this is kind of what we got. But it was really, there was something that's so nice about, I think in general, ceramics is such a kind of collaborative medium, whether everyone has to kind of rely on each other to work in studios. I feel like a painter would never really just have that, be like, oh, come paint on my painting. So there was something that I loved that really felt like it was embracing the sort of community of ceramics. So by doing that, and I hope to continue that with each show. And then if the work sells, I usually donate the money to some organization that I feel like is doing something that I want them to be doing. So that way it's not like I'm profiting off other people's artwork. This, I'm just checking the time. This was a for a group show at Hauser and Wirth in the fall, based on the movie LA Story. And so with Steve Martin, and so this was a fun piece to make. This is also kind of a larger vessel, where I took this here, I'll show you. This is there's a scene at LACMA where Steve Martin is roller skating around in the museum, and I updated it to contemporary LACMA with the Chris Burden sculptures and Steve Martin roller skating outside. And yeah, so, and then this is an install shot of it with Richard Prince behind me, and Mark Rochon, Henry Tanner, John Baldessari. So that was great to be in that context and have that work in that show. This is a studio shot. So I work out of my garage in Altadena, and I have 2 kilns in my backyard, 2 electric kilns. And this is kind of just an install shot to see how crowded it got before the show shipped. And it's just me and my studio director that works together, moving these works. Here's the install of the show in Chelsea. And the show is called Paintings on Clay. The work for the show was so personal. I really turned inward when I was making it. It was like last year, and so much going on in the world, and I kind of just went inward basically. And so I felt like instead of giving it a specific title, it felt just like I wanted it to be just what it was, which was Paintings on Clay. This was, we made little to scale pots to help with install, which are very coveted now. I give them out away as birthday presents. So those were kind of fun to make. Here's another install shot. You'll see that, you know, a lot of times questions I get, well, how do you decide on your shape of your vessel? Since I am so you know, I'm all self-taught, and I have a very imperfect hand. And I used to fight that. And after making art for 25 years, I have finally just embraced it. And that's just my hand. You know, I always say I couldn't make a perfect pot if you like, but I actually can, and I have, and I really don't like it. Like I find it challenging to it's too perfect. So I really like the imperfection that happens because of my hand. And I like how it in my mind, it kind of adds to the narrative that is happening in each individual pot. I also, when I talk about this work, I talk about them being kind of filmic. My background was also at Boulder. I was actually at Boulder with Betty Woodman, but I didn't know that. I went downstairs to the ceramic department once. It kills me that I missed out on an incredible opportunity. Because I became such a fan of her work when I started teaching and really getting into clay. But I did study with Stan Brakhage, if anyone knows who Stan Brakhage was. He was an experimental filmmaker, and that was hugely influential for me. And I feel like a lot of that still goes in my work in a way that is hard to kind of articulate. But, you know, because these vessels are, you know, you have to walk around them, and I have a different kind of scene on every side, they're really unfolding in time, and that feels like film to me, versus just a painting that you're looking at, you're seeing the whole image at once. Here you kind of have to remember what you just saw as you're walking around, and then the relationships that happen between the works are important to me, and how you're viewing them, kind of catching different glimpses. This is one of the ones I was talking about when I said I'd like to do an art historical piece from, this is Ladies of the Northern Simon. And here, there is a little gold luster on here, which is, I like to use sparingly because I feel like you could really go crazy with the luster, and then all of your pieces kind of have this gold luster look. So I like to just use a little bit, and so I just used it here on this one piece in the show. And And this is called, I think, Lounging Ladies of the Northern Simon. So I took different sculptures and paintings of women, nude women, and put them on the pot. And then if it is open, if the pot is open, then I paint on the inside. This is a very personal pot, and it was, I sort of, as I was making it, I was like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, and then I just did it. It just came, and it feels vulnerable to show, and to have shown in a show, to show in this, but it's what came out. So sometimes you just have to go for it. So I'm just gonna scroll through that a little quickly. This one is another one from the show called The Owls of Elysian Park. And this feels very narrative. It really is like feels sequential. Just gonna go through it. I liked it so much that I decided to make a painting out of just one side of it. This painting. Just another side of it. This was me and my studio director, who was my student when she was 14, and she's now 35. So when we were in Paris, we happened to be in Paris at the same time, and we have this photo that I was drawing from, and I realized that it looked exactly like a Van Gogh street scene painting. So I just took Van Gogh's colors and put them on the painting. And then I also went to Giacometti's studio, and I was really trying to create the texture of his studio. So I used a lot of slip to kind of build up the surfaces and try to get just the touch, the impressions of Giacometti's sculptures. And then I was in Paris working on a bronze, and so that's me working on the bronze. This is mountain biking and hiking is a huge part of my life. This is on the trail right by my house. This trail is still there. This is the one that's right up against NASA. Here's a painting of it. For the borders, I'll often use something that goes along with a narrative, like a plant that's in my garden or native to California, or monarchs or puppies. Here's this is part of some of the promotional material for the Hauser show, and when I had a studio visit with them, since my studio is so small in my garage, I had to take a lot of the work outside, and it really kind of sings outside. It works really well with the greenery. So here's some different ones in my garden. Here's just a straight up tapestry piece. Sometimes I need a break from just all of the storytelling, and so I just will come back to just the patterning of a tapestry and play with just form and color. And that's what this piece is. We're doing time, we're doing good actually. I think this piece has a bite. What's interesting is I didn't have a lot of bites in this show because I didn't have many studio visits. So I think this one has one bite. You can kind of see the bite. My cursor's not working, but you can kind of see a bite in the middle of it, right underneath the poppies. There's 2 bites. So it's always a good indication of a reminder of who's been by the studio. This is like a really hopeful image that I come back to a lot in different ways. This one's called Trans-Siberian Railway, and when I lived in Russia, and the reason I studied Russian was because I was in college during the Cold War, and I was really concerned about the Cold War, and so I wanted to. I don't know what I wanted to do. I guess I wanted to save the world, as one wants to do when they're 19. And so I started studying Russian, and I lived over there. And I took the Trans-Siberian train for $2, $4. It was 4-day train ride to Irkutsk. And the train stalled in the middle of a field for hours, and a man basically this, and had Super 8 camera, and so I was filming it all on Super 8, and a man was sitting there and he gathered all these flowers and he tossed them up and threw them to a woman that was like leaning out of the train. And it was just such, I mean, it was so cinematic, the most romantic gesture. And so instead of it being the woman, I replaced it with myself as if that happened to me. And I just find it to be like a really kind of just hopeful kind of imagery. And then I like looked up what the flowers were, and so these are Siberian irises. And then this last image is my studio director, who, like I said, was my student when she was 14. She also lives in Altadena, and she lost her home, and she just went there yesterday. And this is a piece of mine. This was one of the only things that was still there. This is a piece of mine that she had. And this is where I'm going to tear up, but try not to. Darn it, I'm trying not to. But it's really just, I think it's just about how incredible that clay is what survives, and and that was really it. And she had some other ceramic stuff that survived. She's a ceramicist, and but just it's the sort of enduring power of storytelling and clay, and is just very remarkable. So I'm going to end there.
Thank you, Jennifer. If you have some questions, you're more than welcome to put them in the chat box. We definitely have some time.
Yes, I
while-
won't cry through the whole thing. I try not to.
While people are getting their thoughts together, I was wondering, Jennifer, as a painter, and it was striking the way you have the 2D and the 3D images, and how you very much articulate the three-dimensional forms of the ceramics, right? That you don't treat the border of the flat surface in the same way you do the borders of the pieces. And I'm just wondering, as you sort of evolved from the painting to the ceramics, how much was that? How did you go through that process of dealing with a flat 2D surface to a 3D?
Right. That's a good question. I mean, one of the best examples of that was when I was trying to paint the Hunters in the Snow, the Bruegel painting, on a pot. And so I was trying to take this two-dimensional image and put it on a three-dimensional form, and trying to make it all kind of work together. And kind of the challenge with that. I think for me, the thing that the biggest difference is almost like I just start drawing my image kind of almost anywhere, or start painting it, and sometimes it's like sideways, and sometimes it's upward, and then sometimes a portion will be up here, and then a portion will be around on the other side. And just having that freedom to not have to sit with it. There's just such for me, I think, coming from the painting and a two-dimensional surface, and contending with that history of painting, I feel like once I got to working with the clay, there's just such a freedom that, because I came at it from a self-taught way, and then being able to work in the round like that, there's like kind of no hierarchy really. I could just kind of go around the form, and maybe if I draw something on one side, and then I can completely change my mind on another side, and then they can juxtapose together. So I think, does that answer your question? I feel like.
Yeah, there's I mean, the way you articulate the borders, and you put the images in between, and they're very much in response to the form, which is like a very I've seen some painters like approach a three-dimensional form and just covered it like it was a canvas, and not
Right.
really paying attention, and not really spending the time to really
Right.
articulate, and maybe it helps fit into your narrative, but there's
Right.
also this structural articulation that takes place
Right.
within.
Well, I love because so many of the pots have like a thin neck, and then a bigger body, and then a smaller foot. So I love the idea of trying to figure out, how am I going to take this flower and make it work kind of on this really bulbous form, so I enjoy that challenge. I think that happens from trying to to represent something, but you're representing it on not a flat surface. So I think, but I think so much of my work is intuitive that I don't have like a clear answer, you know? So,
Um, Jennifer, we're getting a lot of questions about
okay,
the technical part of it. So if
sure,
you could just go through quickly a step by step of
sure, sure.
you mentioned low fire, red clay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Um, So, and the reason I use low fire is because that's just what I learned with. And the colors, for me, the colors kind of are relate the most to the painting colors. So I just stick with the Emrico underglazes instead of having explored the whole world of glazes and high fire. I just have never had that opportunity. I think it would be really fun to maybe do a residency somewhere or take a class where I'm learning how to do all of that. But since I'm self-taught, I just kind of this is what I learned and I stuck with it, you know, because there is such a whole world of. I would love for it to be. Sometimes high fire would come in handy, especially with the bigger vessels, because people would like to have them outside. It would be nice to have them outside. But the I do feel like the color has not worked for me the same way. So that's kind of why I do low fire. And sometimes I have a few molds that I made. So some of the smaller pots will just be a slab that is draped over the mold, and then make a foot, and then flip it over, and then slowly build up. I have a drawing that maybe I'm going to want to stick to, and then it often just veers off and doesn't quite go with the way that I want it to initially look. And then but again, I've kind of learned to lean into that and celebrate that imperfection.
So you, just to answer all these questions, you start with a low fire red clay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you put a white slip or not.
Yeah, white
Uh,
slip or white underglaze, one or the other. If I happen to have slip around, if I'm at a studio or something, I'll do that. If not, I'll just use a white underglaze. I use all Amico. And then when it's leather hard, I draw into it with a needle tool, my fingernails, other tools, ribbon tool, wood tools. Uh, get the drawing done. Then once it kind of gets a little more dry, I'll use the underglazes. And what I do with the underglazes, a lot of times I'll water them down. So I use a spray bottle, so sometimes they'll drip, and kind of create more of like a watercolor layer effect, a painterly effect. Then I'll fire it, and then I find certain parts that I want to highlight, so I'll put the clear glaze on just certain parts. I don't like it when it's all over too glossy, because I find it's hard to really get into the scene. So I like to just kind of highlight certain areas with the clear glaze. So
and you go to O4, low
oh,
temperature.
four, yep,
Okay. All
yeah.
right. So Poppy asks, how much, and you suggested this, but how much 2D sketching, painting, planning do you do before you actually touch the clay?
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have my sketchbook and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna plan out my whole next show, and I'll be like away or something, and I'll just be like, and it just doesn't come to me. So I really, more what happens is I'll get an idea for a piece, I'll start drawing it, and then maybe if I need to like be like, oh, how do I render that arm like that? Then I'll go back and like sketch out the arm like in my sketchbook. But I really, most of it is just right. I respond to the shape of the vessel. A lot of times I won't know what I'm doing. Um, and so I'll start with a border, and that's a way into the piece for me. So I'll just get it, I'll take off the plastic, and I'll just be like, all right, well, I'm going to do a border, I'm going to do this. And then that's just like, uh, a good starting point for me, and then I'll just usually go from there. So it's really not a lot of planning.
So you also suggested this. Danya asks, is it challenging to paint a more watery underglaze on a curved surface? And you said it runs, and part of it is that you like for it to run, but I guess she's wondering about the overall challenge of doing that.
Of
Of using this watery sort of
Oh, I
underglaze
mean,
on
it's
it.
I mean that's that's not really a challenge for me. That's kind of fun. Like I'm always trying to get this like effect that sometimes I'll have, and sometimes I can get it, and sometimes I can't. But because the clay has to kind of be a little bit the right like if it's a little too wet, then it's going to not, it's going to run, it's going to bring the red with it sometimes. And so it just comes from doing it enough times, knowing what dryness is the right amount to get it to flow, you know. Some colors kind of flow easier than other colors. Like it's, you know, lately when I've been getting sometimes the underglazes come too thin, and so I'll have to like leave the jar open for a while to get them thicker, you know, so it's kind of like that. So it's just from doing it for so long, I think.
Um, Josh asks, how committed are you in each work from start to finish? You ever white out imagery and start over? Is it your approach
Yeah,
to?
I do occasionally, I will, instead of whiting out, I might just, with a ribbon tool, just get rid of the whole section and then put white, and then kind of like use a sponge to kind of smooth it back out, and then put the white underglaze back on. Because once I start drawing on it, it's pretty committed. You know, once I start the sgraffito. So if I don't want it, I have to kind of take it back 2 steps. So.
And follows up, is your approach to image making significantly different when it takes place on paper or canvas from how it unfolds on clay?
That's a good question. I always, you know, say that painting is a lot harder for me. Again, because I think I kind of addressed this a little bit before. I just find a real freedom with clay, which is maybe paradoxical to some, because I think some people don't feel that. Like I feel like but I think because I'm not trained in it, and that I have a less of a sort of self-conscious burden on my shoulder of this kind of history of what I learned from my painting that I'm bringing with me of all my professors, you know. So I'm just kind of like, whoa, you know, uh, there's just a spontaneity and a freedom that comes to it that makes it more just easier for me, I guess, is the.
How many pieces do you work on at the same time?
A lot, a lot. I would say 5 or 6 going at once, because you know, you can only build up so much at a time. I have been fortunate uh, enough in the last few years to really kind of be working towards shows. So I'm usually on some sort of deadline. I'm supposed to do a show, where I am doing a show in Chicago in April, and I haven't worked really in 3 weeks, so it's that's going to be a real push. I mean, as you know, you can only push clay so much, so you have. So I like to have a lot of different ones going at once. That way, if I'm not sure what I'm doing on this one piece, I have another piece I could build up on and go to, or and work on. So it's a lot at
Well,
once.
in conjunction with that, your vessels, I think you mentioned before you have some molds, but are they mostly hand built?
They're all, yeah, they're all hand built. Yeah. So they
Okay.
might, I have like for the smaller pieces, I have 2 molds, but everything else is just there's no molds. It's just starting with a slab, and then I used to do coils, and now I do slabs. That just makes it a little bit lighter and maybe goes a little bit faster. So,
Jake asks, what is your favorite part of the process?
oh, that's the sgraffito. I love the sgraffito. It's addictive. I just, I don't, something about just drawing into that wet clay feels, I just love, I could do it all day long. I love it. So it's definitely that. There is,
Um,
with the underglazes, there can be some frustration, like, especially if I'm trying to do different skin tones or something. Like I will fire and I'll be like, oh, I just not exactly the way I wanted it to look, you know. So you have to kind of have a freedom and a looseness with it, because you're with your expectations, because that's just working with clay, as you all know, to work with clay. So
Sam asks, when you do these large slabs, do you add a foot after? Wondering how you get these large pots out of
Well,
slabs?
there's not really for the larger pieces. There's not really a separate foot. So, like, just say that the last piece I showed, the Trans-Siberian one, which started small, right, and then went up. I just would start with a small, uh, circular slab and then build up as we go along. You know what I mean? But with the smaller ones that are in the mold, I'll put the foot on while it's still in the mold. So.
Um, do you, once the piece is gone through the green and you bisque it, do you then go back and rework things with underglazes, or
Yeah,
is it?
if I often will do multiple firings. Yeah, if I'm not happy with how it looks. Um, I would say, well, I would say that I probably do that maybe like one in every 7 pieces or something like that. I would say, yeah. So I think most of the time since I've been doing it for a while now that I have it down, but there will be the one that just keeps bugging me, because I don't like how it quite looks, so I'll go back to it.
um, I think we're getting close. Again, some technical things. Do you use wax on your
I don't use
pieces?
I don't use wax. I would like to I'd like to, but I don't. My friend Roche Herman does beautiful stuff with wax, as well as Marianne, my studio director, does great stuff with wax, but I don't. I also teach ceramics. I teach a ceramic sculpture class at a community college in Los Angeles. So, and we use wax sometimes. But I don't know why I don't. I should. Thank you. I will.
Um, So do you find you have too many, I'm not sure I understand this, but do you have find you have too many layers of underglaze to get the vivid colors? In other words, do
No,
you have, no, it just
no.
comes.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you're going low fire, the underglazes go really bright. Like they have the intense yellow, they have the bright red, they have royal blue, they have electric blue. They have really bright colors. And so as long as you don't dilute it too much, then it's going to be very bright. So the purple is such a bright color. So
I think you might have a student for your class. Where can they find info about the community college classes
it's
is,
Citrus College in Glendora.
and anybody can sign up?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Um, do you think you would have live in person workshops in the future? I guess
If someone
um,
invites me, I would love to. Yes, I'd love to teach. I love teaching. So yes,
a
someone
live
invite me. I
a
will.
live workshop, not a live-in, a live workshop.
Oh, a
So
live
sorry.
workshop. Oh God, I hate Zoom. I don't know. You mean like via on Zoom? Is
Could
that what
be
you
or
mean?
in person.
Oh, in person? Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. Someone invite me, I will.
Um, was there a specific moment in your career when you realized you had honed in your personal style and that was it, or did it come natural?
It's a good question. I feel like I feel like I'm still like honing on it, I guess. I guess maybe what the difference is, maybe just the more confidence that comes with it. With having that I've been, putting out this work and that it's been well received. I mean, the show at Halloweenworth was huge for me, and the amount of people that saw it was incredible, and the response from it was incredible. So I feel like that, and that was last May. And that context, Eva Hesse was downstairs, and Mary Hallman was on the same floor as me, and Rita Ackerman was upstairs. And so I feel like after that, I've felt pretty good, I guess. So
Um, I lots of technical questions again. Do you use clear glaze on the? It looked like on the inside of the pieces to make them watertight, or you not care
I
about
do.
that?
If it's an open vessel, I will put clear glaze up to about here in case somebody wants to use it for flowers or something. Like I don't care if they want to do that. Like that's up to them. So I try to make it so if it's small, then I don't bother because I think I'm just too cheap and don't want to use the clear glaze, probably. So,
I think we've pretty much covered most everybody's questions. Um, and we're wrapping up just before 8, so you can go get your kids. So, okay, let's see. Do you glaze for the fire? Do you glaze over the paint? Do you glaze over the paintings? Or are you using Amico clear glaze?
yeah, I'm
Um,
using LG10, and I I so uh I only do 2 coats of the clear glaze, not 3, because you could do 2 or 3 coats, or you could do 1, 2, or 3. Like I said, I have an aversion to too shiny, and I like to I like to it to be less shiny versus too shiny, so I usually go 2. Again, now it's been annoying because lately their glazes have been coming so watery. And so then I don't have it down to science as much as I normally do. But like I said, I just will leave it open and it will get a little bit thicker. Um, and I like the combination. When you see my work in person, I have a real combination of matte versus shiny. So I like to just kind of, again, highlight certain areas so you have that contrast between the two. So
bu- Debbie asked, before you had representation, how did you market your work for gallery shows?
that's a good question. When I give this advice, I really kind of just say like the number one thing to do is like try to be part of some sort of community. So if you're taking a class somewhere, start engaging with people that are around you. Another thing is like if you're working by yourself in a studio, a friend of mine always said that it's good to socialize your work. So if you think about like just, having inviting people to the studio, you have to put yourself out there. And eventually you're going to make work that someone is responding to, and that someone will know someone who's in a gallery and will refer you. I try to refer if people, if I find the work moves me, then I'm gonna do that, And so I think everyone wants to help someone. I think it's we're all interconnected, and you just really the hardest part is just feeling confident to put yourself out there, and that's very hard to do initially, but be willing to be vulnerable, and just also realize just because one person doesn't like it doesn't mean it's not good, that just might not be their taste, so keep inviting people in, keep making the work, and eventually it will be shown. And the other thing is find the galleries that you're interested in. Like not every gallery is for you, you find the gallery that you feel you really like the work that they're showing. And there's a reason that you're going to feel that way because there's obviously probably affinity to your own work. And that's kind of, so you have to like do your research on your end as well, to find where you think your work would be good. So.
Along on the more technical side of the gallery relationship, did the gallery in Paris, Gail asked, did they take care of all the packing and shipping? And what percentage do they take?
Yes, they took it. It's always nerve-wracking, especially shipping the work internationally, because they tend to use different companies. So not for this show, but for another show, like one guy showed up and I was like, oh, okay. Versus like the Hauser show where there's like a whole team came, so it was just, you're like, where is it gonna be? Are you making crates? You're just kind of like, you trust the process and you hope it's gonna go safely. Usually they soft pack it at the studio, so they'll just wrap it in blankets and maybe have like a box that they've made. Then they'll take it to their warehouse where they've either made one giant crate or they've made individual crates. And the gallery, and this always drives my brother crazy, he hates this model, but the gallery takes 50%. That's just what the model is. So, but they pay for shipping and photography, and they fly you out there and put you up and do all these other nice things. So, and promote the work.
How long does it take you to make each piece?
Ah, that is the question I always get, and I do not have an answer. Because I'm working on so many at a time, and I love, all I know about myself is I love a deadline. So I am can really be motivated by that. That helps. Some people don't love that, but I can work well to that. You know, some pieces take me a really long time. Uh, some like the Toulouse-Lautrec piece. God, I don't know how long that took me. The French Kiss piece. That one came together pretty quickly, actually. But you know, some take, it really just, it depends. Like, but like the one that was all the green tapestry towards the end, that took longer because there's lots of little details that I have to get in there and paint and trying to. And oh, and the other thing that I should say about the underglazes is I mix them like a painter. So I'm not just using all the colors straight out of the jars. So I will mix a lot of the colors because of my background in painting. So then it's like if I didn't mix enough of that one color that I made, then I have to like remember what it is and make up, you know. So it really depends on the piece. So I don't really have a good answer for them. So.
And then is price determined by the time, the size? Uh,
That is the age-old question. The galleries do that. That's part of what they do. It's a lot of it is kind of, you know, your prices go up as your demand goes up. So if you've sold out a show, you know, a few shows in one year, then maybe next year your prices will go up maybe by 10% or something, you know, depending. So, but that is really something that they deal with. I mean, you're part of it if you want to be part of it, but and there is no really exact. That's the great mystery of the art world, the pricing. So.
all right, I think I know you have to go, so I think we'll leave on. Josh had a really nice comment where he said, "So powerful your work. Thank you, Jennifer. This train scene vessel reads as cinematic both because of the emotional resonance of the moments captured and reinvented, and the film strip-like quality of the train and its windows circumnavigating the form." And I think that does a really really nice way of encapsulating. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And wish you all the best, and hope you can get back to normalcy very, very soon.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you all for joining us.
Thank
And
you.
hope to see you in February for the next lecture. Take care now.